Can I get your hot take on current pro play? In the sense I mean why every game is more often than not decided on the draft. The previous seasons never felt as much of a coin flip as they are this season. Please and thank you, Mr. Snack.
Oh, I have the answer for you. It's just because there's never really been as much like emphasis from third-party people that weren't the broadcasts on the draft. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just like, you know, with COVID and co-streaming in general, like there's been more personalities. So like people are just talking about it more, and it's just a talking point. So like you'll notice those more often because they're talking about it. Because drafting has always been huge in the game. Like games are just totally won or lost on draft a lot of the times. You can't always tell, right? Yeah, I mean honestly, like even the pros don't even feel the draft difference until you actually play a game too. Say you'll draft yourselves a draft that you talked about beforehand, right? Like you let the enemy get these picks, or you consciously are aware of the enemy picking it preemptively. And then you go and then you play the game, and then you say, wow, this game's fucking unplayable. And then you feel like it's just like their draft is just better, right? Like it's weird, but it happens like that. You would think, like, you know, teams of the highest caliber can get to a point where they can pick a good draft for themselves every time, but it's just not the case at all. Another example is, say you preemptively talk about a draft before the game, and you plan out what's going to happen, and then the enemy does something you don't expect, and then you have to pick a counter pick, or you have to pick a champion that you weren't, you know, expecting to play, basically, and it ends up making your comp really weird. I talked about this one before, basically. Maybe I can pull up the draft. Actually, I don't know. I'm gonna find the game. Okay, well, basically, here's the
8 kills.
Here's how it is. So we're going into a week where Vayne was strong bot lane, and then we ended up talking and playing through practice where we figured out we don't want to play Vayne with Akali or Aatrox, and Aatrox. Like, we can't have all three of them together because they don't have wave clear. We don't have defensive wave clear, so the game becomes impossible at some point. So we said this like multiple times, shitloads of times leading up to the draft of the game, and then we go into the game and we somehow accidentally draft all three together because of the reason that, like, you go through, you say you don't want the three, but then somehow it happens where you end up saying, this is my only option here. Like, Aatrox is my only option here. Akali is my only option here. Right? Like, and I already picked Vayne. So, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's anyone's fault necessarily. It's just like, it somehow happened that the enemy team drafted in a way that we had to pick that matchup, even though as the 5-team comp, we didn't like those three together. Right? So, like, even from a pro perspective, it's drafting is always hard. Here's another example. Fucking, it was at IEM. Let me see if I can pull up the game. IEM C9 versus Coup Tigers. I don't think they were called Coup Tigers then, though. Yeah, it's this game. Okay, so this game. Wait. Yeah, this game. We go into the draft the day before, and Lissandra's OP as fuck at this point, okay? We go into the draft, we talk about the draft. I was even there. I remember saying we were okay with giving them Lissandra basically as first pick, right? We were okay with giving them Lissandra first pick. And then, so this happens, right? They take Corki. Then we take these two. And Lissandra's still up. And then they pick Lissandra, and we actually start losing our minds. Like, my team is so tilted because they picked Lissandra, and we didn't notice it was up. But after, because they didn't first pick it. They picked it here, 2-3. We actually lost our minds. This is another example, right? Like, shit happens all the time, so drafting is really hard. Like I said, I mean, even from like a caster or analyst standpoint, like calling which draft is better or who's going to win the game based on the draft, like, it's so hard to even say, like, what is definitively a better draft, right? Like, you can always have arguing points, but when two drafts, you know, seemingly look good on paper and then they clash, random shit happens. Random events happen. And I mean, you know, there's always skill in it. It's not like just draft immediately decides the game, but sometimes it does, and it's hard to know when it will.